Hello friends and welcome to my channel. Today I sat down to start filming another video and I didn't vlog this last week and I read a lot of things that I really wanted to vlog. The long story is that I threw my back out again and I didn't have it in me to vlog, which I didn't have it in me to do much, honestly. Throwing your back out's no joke. Well, we might. Are we gonna get into it? We might get into it a little bit. I sat down to film another video, and as I started cleaning up and getting ready to film and all that fun stuff, I just realized that I had a lot of things that I just wanted to chit chat about, and what better time than to do that while I get ready for said video. I apparently like doing get ready with me, so we're just gonna continue the trend. Do I want to do these? Yeah, I think I'm going to. I tried out the Kiss mascara. Actually, one of the girls that I follow on Instagram, I commented on a story and I was like, girl, your eyelashes look so good. And she was like, thinks it's the mascara kit. And I was like, okay. So I got them and I actually wore them. If you saw my House of Flame and Shadow reading vlog, I had those on for the majority? No, the whole vlog. I put them on before, right? Time blurs together. Anyways, I wore them then. I've done them one or two other times since then, but it's been a hot minute since I've put on another set. So I got at Target, they have the invisible band versions now, which I'm very curious about. So we're gonna try it. So I just wanted to quickly touch base before I get into the actual reading updates and exciting fun things that have happened in the last week or so. I wanted to just quickly give a little bit of a mental health update because I feel like that definitely plays into what I've been reading and how I have felt about what I've been reading. If you watched my dragon reading vlog, I actually DNF'd prior to the Orange Tree and I found another book that I should have DNF'd, and I even talked about it in the vlog. Part of it was because I think I was starting to get into a reading slump. The other part of it was that I genuinely was just kind of in a weird life funk space, and yeah. I posted on my Instagram stories that Thursday and so many of you were like, girl, me too. And I absolutely loved, not obviously that we're all kind of in the same Debbie Downer moment, however, having so many people be like, yeah girl, me too, but then also actually wanting to talk about it. I'm someone who's very much so isolate when I'm stressed, overwhelmed, all those super great times, and to have people around me that were also going through the same thing, and to just have so many people that A, wanted to talk about it also, but B, just to reach out and be like, sorry you're going through that. To have so many people that were kind of there to force get me out of my little funky dory moment was just so nice. Okay, this is gonna, am I gonna be able to do this while talking? Probably not. That is not very sticky. Okay, so doing this is not my finest idea, and I should have done one eye at a time. I've already really not done well here. Oopsies. Hear me out. I think I might like the actual dark band better. Let me pop these on and we'll be right back. Okay, well, we tried. She's kind of cute. Kind of not necessarily really worth it if you do the short ones, but whatever. I'm also so aggressively used to my very fluffy, what are what are those eyelashes called? I think they are Kiss. That kind of half worked. I feel like once mascara's done, it's kind of well, I'm done. Every time I put these eyelashes on, I feel like I'm cheating, and I'm like, could I be a real extension girly? If they didn't cost $1 million, I might. So I was not doing so hot Thursday. I think part of it too, because I work from home, sometimes I go far too long without leaving my house. And I definitely that week had left a couple times, but it was I don't remember what I did, but it was the kind of outings that were there and back, whatever, that just made me feel still stir crazy. So that was Thursday. And then Friday night I had book club, which I feel so beyond fortunate to have found this particular group of gals. I had wanted to be, and I think I've talked about it on here, I have a hard time keeping track with what I've talked about on YouTube and what I haven't, which is kind of interesting. I really wanted to be part of a local book club for a really long time, so I posted on Facebook and somebody commented and was like, hey, I have one, and I was like, okay, cool. And so I showed up, and it's kind of a group of girls, half of them went to high school together, half of them went to kindergarten together. There's a sister duo, one of them's a photographer and did a couple of their weddings, and just kind of a group of people that just kind of randomly knew each other. And it's so amazing because I tell you, this group of people, they're the kind of people that have fun together, but then at the same time, like, stop and actually ask the hard questions and like talk about the deep topics, which I'm very much so someone who's prone of just kind of gabbing away and never actually talking about anything important because I'm too busy just like gabbing away and just talking about the light, fun, fluffy stuff before I ever get to the things that I actually do want to talk about, which is something that I'm learning to be better at, as we all have things that we learn to do better at. So anyways, I feel super stinking fortunate to have found and have been kind of adopted into this group. But we had book club Friday night, and our hostess, she got us all bookmarks to make. It was the cutest and most fun thing that I've ever done or had. Let me go get mine as I like have concealer half blended in. Isn't this the cutest thing you've ever seen in your entire stinking life? It is spectacular. So she basically bought the flowers and some like little trays. I did get some clips of it, so I'll put it here. But basically, I don't know if it was a kit on Amazon that she got, but she had all of the tassels, all of the flowers, and then the little bookmark actual plastic backing. And then we just sprayed the back of the bookmark with some Mod Podge, and then we arranged the flowers on top of it to however we wanted it to be. And then we just sprayed some more Mod Podge on top to seal it all in. And it honestly was the funnest. It was just the funnest time. We actually did it at her mom's house, and her mom has a hot tub, so we all got to go hang out in the hot tub after, and it was just such a fun, like, it was exactly what I needed. And not only from the perspective of like finding a friend group, which has been so desperately needed, but then also just having a fun, happy go lucky night with a bunch of gals like at the specific time mentally that I needed. It was everything. The other thing, making friends, wow, this update's going a lot longer than I thought, and we haven't even started talking about books. Making friends as an adult is something that I was always told was going to be super hard, and then I was like, yeah, I'm sure, but it'll be fine. Girl. It's challenging, first of all. But one thing that I think I didn't really factor in, because I was definitely like in high school and growing up, I was a person that had a lot of friends, but not as many like close friends. And as I've gotten older, I've definitely gravitated to having fewer, but closer in terms of like what I need. But what I actually have at the moment is not any, really. I feel like when you graduate college and then everybody kind of goes off and does their own separate thing, everybody just kind of disperses. And then especially because I graduated 2020 and what was happening on in the world at the time, and I also worked at a very small company, so I didn't have work friends, and it just like was a very hard season for me, and it still definitely is. I'd always been told finding adult friendships is a challenge and yada yada yada, but it so aggressively is. And I think part of it is that it becomes more apparent to you how much you need the friendships. Like, even if you don't just necessarily have them, you realize how much so that you need them. And like, I knew how important it was to have friends, and I knew that I was a person that needed friends. Obviously, like, being alone all the time, not fun. But I let myself be distracted by like work in my own hobbies and just like my own self a lot of times, that by the time I realized that I really had isolated myself, it was hard to then go and even just find people. So literally posting on Facebook and finding a book club is apparently what's working out for me. And I'm just very grateful to have found this particular group of people, like specifically the fact that I found any people, but also the fact that I found this specific group, that like there are certain people in this group that are really close, which I think makes it easier for them to have deeper conversations, because that's not even necessarily true. There are girls in that group that are very close and do typically have very deep conversations, and so it's very much so a natural dynamic in this particular group to then continue asking those questions of like new people. This whole book club, like, we obviously had a book to sit and chat about and then go home at the end, but we basically went around in the circle in 2 rounds. First round was, it was something you like about yourself, both physically and then personality wise, which, girl, if you've not done that and actually had to say that out loud, that is actually so stinking hard to do. And then we went around again and basically like just love bombed each other. We kind of were like, okay, it's your turn. We ran out in the circle and we just, everybody yelled what we liked about them, and honestly, amazing. And obviously I have only known these people for like 2 months, so the level of what we know about each other is not as deep, but I can definitely see like it's a group that will get there, you can know people for a very long time and not know a single actual thing about them, but then you can have a group of people that you really just met, but like you're already sharing things that you maybe wouldn't necessarily normally share. Where's my blush? Basically, I was just having a very like mentally down week, and then got to end it off with some people that like not only were people that were there, and that's something that I really haven't had in a while, but then also people that actually talk about things and discuss things with each other and like don't judge each other. There were definitely some things that we talked about that I would never just like randomly gab about to a stranger, but at the same time are very important things that we all deal with. So it's really important to discuss those things, but I just previously didn't have the people to discuss those things with. And it's just like, and I didn't even necessarily discuss a lot for, like, for myself, but even just like listening to other people talk, like it's just really great. So if you're somebody who, first of all, if you commented on my Instagram stories when I was talking about being down, first of all, thank you so much for A, if you shared anything in particular, but like also B, just like just being there was so kind. I'm just super grateful, genuinely very, very grateful. So that was Friday, and then Saturday, wow, okay. I did not mean to go off on that whole friendship tangent. Clearly it was something that was very present in my brain. So we're gonna see how much of that I'm gonna edit out, because I really intended this just to be like a quick fun, here's some currently reading things, not like here's my life story. Anyways, if you're somebody who is also struggling with like finding, like, female friendships are always hard, honestly, but then factoring in the adult side of that, also post-COVID, in which everybody was kind of like, stay away from me, and then just kind of got comfy with that. Like, we did that for how long? We all just kind of got into that habit, and then so getting back into the habit of like reaching out to people and all of those things, especially when you're somebody who, like me, like is introverted, and it's just, you know, we all have our different struggles with that, and basically it's hard. So if you're going through that, know that you're not alone, which every time I hear somebody say that, it means like jack squat to me, but I think this last week has shown me that like the importance of that and like how truly like what that means. If you truly just feel like you don't know anybody where you are, maybe you just moved, maybe you're in the same town and you feel like you're still alone. First of all, if you're someone who has friends and you see somebody like that, invite them to wherever you're going. I think it's so stinking important to invite people, like just being inclusive wherever you can be. Like, that is just such a really important thing, because if you are like me and you genuinely just don't know anybody, like you work from home, all of your prior friends that you might have known from college while you were here in this city, they've all moved off, your family doesn't live here, like you genuinely don't know people where you are. If you're someone who does know people, invite them. Like, you never know what that actually would mean to somebody. And then if you're somebody who is going through that, don't underestimate the power of social media and literally just reaching out and being like, I need friends. Like, even if you don't want to join a book club, which I think is just like a good farce for hanging out a lot of times. I see so many people on Facebook post asking for friends basically, and I always kind of was like, I would love to do that, but I'm not brave enough to do that. Girl, just do that. Who the heck cares? All of my lip products are in my purse, which is not here. All of the ones I want to use anyways. I go with this one. This is so not spring right now. Good enough. And I will say too, it is so stinking hard to reach out when you're not doing well. The way that I've basically completely finished my makeup and haven't even talked about a single actual book yet. I really need to like trim this eyebrow or something. Oh well. Anyways, I'll stop talking about that. Basically, I'm very grateful to have found a group of friends, and if you haven't yet, just wait, it'll happen. / don't underestimate the power of actually reaching out. A concept. Anyways, so for the book club, our pick for the month was The Arrangement, and this book, I wasn't really sure what I was expecting out of it. This book was so stinking interesting, and I feel like it was really a good girls' night book club book. So basically, this book is about a girl living in New York City who like was on the struggle bus. She meets a friend who is a sugar baby, and she basically gets on this app and becomes a sugar baby and meets her sugar daddy. And it's all about like her journey, we'll say. There were so many things that like wasn't supposed to be funny but was unironically funny. I listened to the audiobook on Everand, and while I don't like, this book was not like a work of art by any means, and I would not have ever picked it up if it wasn't part of the book club. However, it was kind of fun, and it really was a good book club pick because the number of things that happened in that book that were just like, girl. So if you're looking for like options for things to put in a book club, might I recommend this one, because like there were definitely some triggering things that occurred. However, it was whack. Like I said, Saturday we went and ran a bunch of errands, and I like got to leave the house. We actually in our town just got a freestanding Sephora, and it was, girl, I love going to Sephora. I love doing swatches. It's just fun to go play, basically. So we went and did that on Saturday, and it was so stinking much fun. And then did a whole bunch of other things. Like I went to the tattoo shop where I got all my piercings, and I got some new hoops because all of the hoops that I had were anodized titanium, and they were all basically turning gray, and it wasn't a great look. Like this conch piercing was gray, so I switched out to, I think they're technically PVD. Basically I upgraded the jewelry a little bit, and I just feel like a new human. Anyways, so Sunday rolled around, and then I basically laid on the couch all day. I started with Tori's reading sprints in the morning, and my initial plan was to listen to a book that I have over here. I have a whole stack of things we're going to talk about that I'm just going to migrate over. Did I interrupt your nap time, buddy? I had a whole list of things to talk about, and we're not even going off of the list. So I bought the audiobook for Butcher and Blackbird before the whole Joe Arden scandal, if you will. I won't go into that, so do your own research on that, but I already did have the audiobook. So I was going to listen to it anyways. I decided to start it. My plan was during the first sprint to listen to this while I cleaned up around the house. Then I was going to start Wild Love by Elsie finally. And then I proceeded to get so completely wrapped up into this book and into the story and into these characters that I could not stop. It was so much fun. This is like the rom-com version of the Mind F series, which if you haven't read, research your trigger warnings, and if they are acceptable to you, give it a go. Might I just say that is a book series that I definitely do think about all of the freaking time, and this is like a rom-com-y, more fun, more lighthearted version of that, while at the same time they are serial killers. So there's blood and gore that happens in here, but it's like in a funny way. It's not like in a gross, icky way. Like all the girlies do like this. So obviously definitely look up your trigger warnings, might I just say. There was a whole ass playlist on here. I love listening to Spotify playlists while I read books. There's a whole like list of playlists of songs for a playlist in here anyways. So if this book is remotely at all interesting to you, the trigger warnings are cool. Might I recommend it. I do have to say that I did really like the audiobook, of course, but again, do your own research on all of that business. That's all I'll say on that. So basically I laid on the couch all day Sunday and read that, and then just continued to lay on the couch, which when I finally stood up at like 8 o'clock like p.m. on Sunday, because I was planning on just having a full send girl rot day, and I took it a little too far. I stood up and I basically immediately knew that like I felt a little bit of a weirdness happening in my back, and I was like, ooh, that's not going to develop well. It didn't. So Monday I sat down at work and I was like able to sit, but it definitely didn't feel great. And then Monday night was not ideal. So basically I threw out my back again. Super great fun times, especially because whenever you literally can't move and it lasts like of intense pain for like 3 or 4 days. It's now Saturday, and like I can kind of sit here, but I definitely do feel it. I also laid in bed this morning a little funky, and I stood up way too fast and I hurt again. So yeah, not the most fun time. But I was super grateful because I did have my Kindle stand, which means that I got to lay in bed and read some. I also figured out that that stand does in fact fit my iPad. I finished all of Bridgerton season 2. That's all I'm gonna say. I am obsessed with that storyline. I'm a big like tension slow burn girl. The first time I watched a couple episodes of it and it just didn't, I was not in the mood for it. This time around, it had my name written all over it. But then I realized that it was book club time for, is it Dawnstar? Amazing. I am the absolute worst at remembering titles for books that I just pick up on KU. No. Technically, this series is no longer on KU. I did buy the ebooks a couple months ago before I knew that we were doing this big group buddy read. And I kind of, given my whole back situation and also given the fact that I was just like having a weird week, I kind of forgot that book club was supposed to be this last week. So Tuesday, I realized it was supposed to be on Tuesday. So I picked up the audiobook for that. I don't like the audiobooks for this series, so I wouldn't recommend those, but I was trying to finish in time for book club. I proceeded to not quite finish in time, and then I was in a lot of pain, so like book club just didn't happen. However, I am finally caught up, which like go me. Book 2 in that series, let me freaking tell you. Book 1, it's very much the main character who's like entitled princess learns how entitled she actually was. She was kind of annoying for a good chunk of it, and I was like, I don't know how the series is gonna go, but it definitely got good and like plot twisty at the end, and I was like, oh. So that's what we're doing now. Excellent. And then book 2 feeding off of that, but then also leading into its own things that are happening. I am so excited to read book 3 in that series and like see where the rest of it goes. But I also just really did enjoy that. But when I finished it, it's finally time to pick up a little book called Wild Love by a little author called Elsie Silver, who just like happens to be one of my favorite romance authors. So I started this book, I read 85, almost 90% of it basically all in one go, and then I waited a couple days and I finished the last 10% this morning. I did like this book. I was really hoping for a 5-star because I feel like I've not had an actual like true 5-star in a hot minute. And I love and cherish Heartless by Elsie Silver so stinking much. And I love single dad romances. And I love that family dynamic that happens in those scenarios. And I just was so excited for this book. And I should have known going into it that it is a brother's best friend. I've always known that it's not a trope that I necessarily like, but this kind of really proved it to me, and it was still fun and I still liked it a lot. There were some really good moments. Elsie Silver's books, they generally include some form of texting or like correspondence with the family and friends around them kind of thing. This book had that, but then it also had emails, which I really like the emails back and forth between the two of them, because there was also like kind of technically a workplace romance situation, also a billionaire romance. Like it has a lot of things going for it, and I liked all of those things. I just think that like Brother's Best Friend, all of the tension and angst for me, because it already happened, it feels like for me like it already happened, so like I'm just not that invested in it, if that makes sense. The diary entries, I liked them. I didn't love them, and I think that again goes back into they already happened, so I'm kind of just like, oh, that's so cute, like we're looking at in the past. Like I feel like time jump things and like second chance romance doesn't work for me either. It's funny because in theory that should really work for me, because I do really like the longing, and they've been longing for each other for a really long time without even really knowing it. But I just, for some reason, the tension just doesn't quite work with me, and if the tension doesn't work, then that's kind of game over. My knee jerk after finishing it was like, it's a 4.5, but I think it's really a 4-star. Like there are definitely Chestnut Springs books, like plural books, that I like better than this one. The other thing that I wanted to quickly address, Elsie Silver is very popular for being a cowboy romance author, right? This isn't cowboy, this is small town. And I think a lot of people expected this to be cowboy and then proceeded to market it as cowboy and like hype it up as cowboy without necessarily really looking into the fact that it's a billionaire in a small town. I think book 2 is going to be more cowboy, but this one is not. I also was expecting this to be cowboy based on prior Elsie Silver writing, but then also so many people like will post this book and hashtag cowboy romance. That's not what it is. It's like a small mountain town with a billionaire in it who's like escaped to run away from the city. So I did really like it. I am glad that I read it. Elsie Silver can indeed do no wrong. I also really like the approach to single dad that this book took. Yeah, I can say that's on the back of the book. So our main male character, Ford Grant, he surprise, he's a dad kind of moment, without getting too much in the details, because I think finding out some of those details was fun. It wasn't he had this kid and he was looking at this nanny and inviting this nanny into his life, like how Heartless is. It was very much so a new fresh take in which our female main character is kind of getting to make a relationship with this kid at the same time that our male main character is, and it's just, I thought that that was an interesting dynamic. So I did really like this book. It's definitely not my favorite Elsie Silver. I definitely have a couple other more that are more favorites. However, this is still so up my alley. I still love Elsie Silver forever. So after I finished Wild Love, I was like, what do I do now? I posted on my Instagram stories, I was like, do I read a cowboy romance? Do I finally pick up an Emily Henry or an Abby Jimenez? Do I finally start Magnolia Parks? Like, what do I do here? So I posted about reading, maybe I should read a cowboy romance. I realized I never actually talked about Swift and Saddled on here. Yes. I actually like this better than Done and Dusted. I really thought that I had talked about Swift and Saddled, but I don't think that I have. There was a period of time, I think there was 1 week in which I did vlog, but then didn't post any of it. And I think that was one of the books that was included in that group. I related a lot to Ada in certain ways. Some of the wording which she had around friendships was a little different than my personal experience. However, I did relate to a lot of the pieces that she talked about. Wes just like chilling with a baby cow is kind of every excellent part about cowboy romance that's ever existed. So if you're looking for another cowboy romance that's not Chestnut Springs, I feel like this is one of the really popular cowboy romances at the moment. And I think these are officially being turned into movies, which, speaking of things being turned into movies, Verity's being turned into a movie. And I personally am still upset that Blake Lively can't be Verity. And I get that, like, she's already done kind of similar roles, but that's what would make her perfect for it. Anyways, also Dark Matter I saw is becoming an Amazon special, which I read a couple years ago. At the time, I remember, like, it was like a cool summer read for me on accident, and I, like, didn't really know what I was getting into, and the whole time I was like, I want a fun girly book, not this. But if I were to read it now, I think I'd really like it a lot. But, like, by the time I got to the end, I was like, this is amazing. Like, I'm here for this. So I'm excited to watch that. But anyways, I feel like I've officially read, like, the big three. What's the big three in my head? This series, then Chestnut Springs, and then Gold Rush Ranch. I've read all of those, and now I just need more. So if you have any good cowboy romance recommendations, I think I want to start diving into more indie ones, but I also don't necessarily know where to start. So if you have any that you have read, let me know. So I just want to quickly mention this. So like I said, I posted on my Instagram asking what I should read next, and what if I just like start Magnolia Parks. I got a lot of people saying I should just start Magnolia Parks. So I'm gonna start Magnolia Parks finally. I have wanted to start it for a really long time, and it's been kind of intimidating for me because I feel like I've heard so much about it, and I've heard about so much about it for like a long time now. So that is what I will be reading this upcoming week. I think I am going to read the whole series and do a rating vlog about it. I haven't decided if it's going to be spoiler free or not, which I feel like I want to do it spoiler free, but I don't know that I'm going to be able to do it spoiler free. So I'll just kind of feel out and see what happens. So that is everything that I just wanted to kind of chit chat about, touch base, say hi to everyone, hang out for a little bit while I basically procrastinate putting together the list of books for the video that I'm about to film. And also procrastinate my house because there's a giant pile of laundry right here that needs to be folded, and I don't wanna. I definitely, now that I've been doing booktube for how long has it been? Like, I started in January and it's now May, so it's been kind of a little bit of a minute, which is fun. But I feel like I'm kind of like settling into a little bit of a groove in which I think I realized how much I enjoy vlogging. Like, I enjoy just chit-chatting and hanging out and like talking about all the books and things. So I am excited to get back to it. I basically took like 2 weeks off of vlogging and now I miss it. So that's kind of my sign. So thanks for letting me kind of go back and like retrospectively vlog almost all of the books that I read this week in particular. Also, can we talk about how these are both so fun and pink? I didn't really like plan a theme. Also, Dawnstar was purple, so like it was just kind of like a fun girly book week. Anyways, thanks for letting me kind of retrospectively go back and chit chat about all of the books that I read this week, and also a book that I kind of just like randomly shouldn't have thrown, did never update on apparently. And yeah, that is all for me for this lovely Saturday and for whenever you're watching it. I hope you have a great rest of your week. If you're like me and you're feeling kind of a little down, be kind to yourself and just try to do some things that are fun for you, but then also just remember that like we live in seasons sometimes, and sometimes life is just kind of hard and that's just how it is. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for letting me have this kind of community we're starting to create, and I'm just feeling very thankful and just appreciative. So anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day or night wherever you are, and I will see you in the next one.